Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines. You are not cattle. You are men.
Oh shit. Double think. Double think. Okay. Hey, you're listening to Frank America. It is January 5th, 2019. And why don't you hop on board with me as I'm traveling over to my cousin's house to watch his dog. There was a solar eclipse today, partial solar eclipse today, and it's also a new moon tonight. So apparently, after doing a little research, the partial solar eclipse was aligned with the star Vega, which is the brightest star in the sky. And so this is an auspicious time for creativity. So, and these effects are sort of amplified over the next 6 moons because it happened on a new moon. So it has that growth thing going on. So this is the time for you creatives to complete your masterpiece. And I know that you will. I am right on the edge for West of the Edge, my new novella. I'm laying out the format for the print edition and working on the cover design. It needs one last read through for micro edits, but it is all but there. So y'all have that to look forward to. And it's a beautiful evening here in the city. As you may have recalled my last podcast, I was farther north in the tundras. Now I'm back in the urban environment, and happy to be able to help out my cuz a little bit tonight. And who knows where the night will go. I might pop over to one of the local restaurants / pubs, see who's out and about, and just enjoy the life. I might also just buckle down and finish the novella, or some combination therein. One of the tricks to podcasting is having something to talk about. So I'm just going to talk about what was on my mind today. So I've been reading the Wall Street Journal for the last couple days in a row, and I find it very peculiar that for the last 3 days consecutively, there has been a tiny little blurb about NASA's newest accomplishments, quote unquote. And one of these is having discovered Ultima Thule, which basically just means like the place beyond the edge of the world, and was used. Thule, or Thule, was a synonym for the North, so like the ultimate North. Anyway, which allegedly is an icy object that looks like a bowling pin 4 billion miles away from Earth. And that's just so fucking ridiculous. And the problem is they just give you these 2 shitty little like 1980s VHS images. And then it's what's funny about this is that, like, think about that. Allegedly they launched this satellite years ago, and now it's finally made it that far. And it's so if it were really true, it would be so ridiculously impressive and so phenomenally incomprehensible and so technologically unprecedented. That why in the fuck does it get 150 words in the corner of page 2 of the Wall Street Journal? Like, I'm going under this presumption that, let's say these things are actually happening. Can you see the illogic in how underreported they are? People should be going nuts over these feats. But that's the point, is that, like, whatever, like the Associated Press or this top-down information all has a deal with, with the space agencies, and they send them their little news blurbs, and the Wall Street Journal is like, oh fuck, we got to find a little place to put NASA's fucking photo in here. And so it's never a long article, it's just a fucking little corner square somewhere in the Journal, or your local Tribune, or Herald, or whatever your paper does. And that's it. And it's so underwhelmingly covered that it just, like, I would argue, as one has awoken to this notion that we haven't left low Earth orbit, and our previous understanding of space is inaccurate, then these things start to look like what they are, which is psychological cultural warfare and little puff pieces. Just puff, 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 NASA, puff, puff, doing something good. And, the list goes on. I mean, another article I saw in my local Tribune was about a woman who retired, and she worked for NASA, and it said in the article, like, her dad was, worked for the federal government, and which there's nothing wrong with, but when you start to look between the lines, you wonder how did these people ascend to these levels, and what does it take? And then just today, there was another little article. This one was in the Journal, and alright, so I fucking can't remember what it was about, which is driving me crazy because I just read it an hour ago. But suffice it to say, there's been 3 articles in a row. The first 2 were about this Ultima Thule, and then there was another one today on another issue. And again, it was the same thing. It was just a shitty image and about 100 words a copy. And that's just so egregious. It's just so fucking egregious. And when I just arrived at my cousin's, when I get the computer out in a little bit, I will go to thewallstreetjournal.com and find the article, presuming the digital website matches the printed edition that I was looking at, which is a presumption. But let's go. So we're just thinking about how underwhelmingly covered these allegedly great discoveries are. And there's no way that if these things were really happening, they would be this uninteresting to people. And let's go say hi to my cousin's dog here. Hey, Murph. Hey, bud. Hi, you want to go outside? Go on. Come on. Yeah, so maybe I'll take him for a walk with you guys. Might just hang out and talk a little bit first. Hi, bud. Hi. How are you? Good boy. Go pee, Murph. All right. You want to go back in? Yeah, it is cold out here. I agree with you. In case you didn't know, I speak dog. What else? So, so time to get your creativity on. And And I'm going to pause out for a little bit and hop back in. All right, so I'm back. So the woman who was highlighted, she was considered the mother of the Hubble Space Telescope. And interestingly, Murph, chill. Interestingly, she started working for NASA about 6 months after they were founded. And the biggest thing with the Hubble telescope is just that if it can see umpteen fucking light years off into the great expanse, why can't they turn it around and show us fucking Freightliners upside down stuck to the bottom of the ocean? And that's kind of what's going on with that. Now, another reason to get the print edition of newspapers is, like, I just reread this article that they posted about her, and they omitted some of the information about her father that was included in the print edition. In the digital edition, they said her father was a geophysicist, and in the print edition, it said he was a geophysicist who worked for the federal government's land survey branch. So, what's that? The G. So, just that small little effect. So, it said he was a geophysicist for the geophysical land survey. What are they fucking called? Geophysical Land Survey, U.S. They are called... Was it like USGDS or something? They're the famous ones that everyone's read there. Yeah, the USGS. So the U.S. Geological Survey. So usgs.gov. And they're the ones that have that famous, like, treat the land as a flat earth. Like, if you look at all that shit, you've probably seen that image. I have it somewhere. I may include it as a link below. But every time I make that promise, I have to re-listen to the fucking podcast and make sure I stay good on my words. So I'm going to say I may do it, not I will do it. But yeah, so here's the point. January 4th, the Wall Street Journal prints that Nancy Grace Roman, who's considered the mother of the Hubble Space Telescope, as I mentioned, joined NASA 6 months after it started in 1959, and that her father worked for the USGS as a geophysicist. And now that's the print edition I read yesterday. Now I'm looking at the digital edition on WSJ.com, and it says, the family moved around the country as her father pursued his career as a geophysicist. Her mother was trained as a music teacher. But that's all it says. In the print edition, it tells you he worked for the USGS. The digital edition, they took it out. Now, I'm not saying this is right or wrong or whatever, but it reminds me of the protagonist of 1984, Winston's job, which is to continually retroactively update old news articles to be consistent with the truth that exists now, not the one yesterday. And this is, I think we're really touching on something big here. This is the reason, if you want to be an investigator and you want to talk about fake news and you want to talk about motives and agenda, what people are actually doing, you need to get this shit in print. You need physical books in your house. You need physical newspapers that you cut them out, cut out the article. You need to I would argue type out and print, or just get a typewriter and write your assessments. In other words, create a mass. This, and the poor man's version of that, if you're just on a laptop and you want to do as good of work as that, is just take screenshots. But my point is that the WSJ.com article on the same woman doesn't even match the article that showed up at my doorstep yesterday. So, moreover, the one that I am brain farting on, and I can't remember, that I just read earlier today, isn't showing up on the digital website. When I search NASA, it shows me the Nancy Grace Roman article, and then it also shows me the Ultima Thule or Thule article that I already mentioned, and as well as another one about Administrator Jim Breedenstein on life off Earth. Let's just read this for a second. Big things are happening beyond Earth. China landed a probe on the dark side of the moon Thursday morning, Beijing time, becoming the first country to touch down on the far side of the lunar surface. This is so fucking ridiculous. First of all, it's an anomaly why we always see the same face of the moon. Nobody fucking gets that. And this idea that Beijing fucking landed a fucking Chinese box rover on the fucking dark side of the moon, when NASA admits to not being able to leave low Earth orbit, is so fucking preposterous. There's just no way. And I'm going to read the article. I'm going to focus in on this China landing on the dark side of the moon. So the WSJ links another article. China lands probe on dark side of the moon. Shanghai. China successfully, it's written by Treffer Moss. January 3rd, 2019, 12:33 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Shanghai. China successfully landed a probe on the far side of the moon in the latest milestone for the country's ambitious space program. The Chang'e 4 touched down in the von Karman crater Thursday morning, Beijing time, China's state news agencies reported. Ooh, yeah, China's state news agencies. I mean, I have my misgivings about the fucking New York Times and the Wall Street Journal, but we're talking about China's state news agencies. I'm going to see this link they said to an ambitious space program. Let's see. Yeah, so there's another article that China, on the December 31st, China says we're going to do this. China's state news agency reported, having landed intact, it will deploy a rover to gather samples that could provide insights into the moon's internal composition. More than just a technological achievement, the mission's success is a publicity coup for President Xi Jinping, forgive my Chinese, man, who has personally endorsed China's space efforts, said Dean Cheng, an expert on China's space capabilities at the Washington-based Heritage Foundation. Quote, "This is huge, a major first," said Mr. Cheng. "For Xi Jinping and his great Chinese revival, this is a wonderful example. The landing makes China the first country to deploy a probe on the far side of the moon. To help achieve the feat, a communications relay satellite called Magpie Bridge was positioned 50,000 miles beyond the moon last June to bounce transmissions between the Chang'e 4 and terrestrial ground stations. The Chang'e 4 began its descent early on Thursday and then hovered 100 meters above the moon's surface to enable its sensors to pick out the smoothest spot for landing before completing its approach," state media said. The craft was launched from southwest China last month and took 4.5 days to reach the moon. All right, 4.5 days to go 237,000 miles. The first two Chang'e missions studied... Oh, let's see, they got a little video. Are they going to show us? Oh. Well, obviously I can't play video and still run this. So no big deal. But just the first part of the video just showed the shittiest black and white photo. This stuff is such a fucking joke. Oh, it's ridiculous. The first two Chang'e missions studied the moon from orbit, while 2013's Chang'e 3 was China's first probe to reach the lunar surface. A follow-up mission, the Chang'e 5, will attempt to gather lunar samples and return them to Earth. The mission's success heats up the competition between China and the US to become the first in a half century, in 50 fucking years, to land astronauts on the moon. And more broadly, to claim leadership in space. China aims to start building a lunar base by 2025 and to man the facility by 2030. In the long term, it hopes to mine the moon for energy resources. The U.S. plans to return to the moon around 2023. Both countries face daunting technical hurdles. China's new super heavy lift rocket, the Long March 5, failed during its maiden flight in 2017 and has yet to fly again, setting back the country's mission schedule. NASA is still developing both the spacecraft and the rocket it will need to return American astronauts to the lunar surface. As China methodically ticks off its objectives, the pressure is mounting for the U.S. to retain its crown as the world's space pioneer, according to Mr. Cheng. Quote, "There are many who worry that the Chinese will put a man on the moon before we're able to do it again," he said. So that's the article. Do you realize how there's zero technical information? Like, Don Petit was like, former head of NASA or whatever. He was like, we'd love to go to the moon. We just don't have the fucking technology to do it again. We lost it. This is so... These articles, these are puff pieces. They're words held up on toothpicks alleging fucking objects are traveling... Like, okay, have you ever ran a mile? And then think about 10 miles. All right? Now think about 100 miles. 100 miles. Now think about what can you even... Look, it's about 3,000 miles to travel from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean. Give or take. It's about 3,000 miles to cross the continental United States. You have to send an object. Imagine an object pops up right on the Atlantic Ocean there. And you send it up, whatever, 100 feet. Now just think linearly. Don't think vertically. So now it's up. And now you send it and you propel it all the way across the USA. Just like a plane does, right? Flying at 35,000 feet, going across the USA, 3,000 miles, okay? You still have 234,000 miles to go. They're saying they can do this in 3.5 days. Look, 237,000 divided by 3,000 is 79. So let's just say that it's about 80. You have to go back, you have to go from the Pacific Ocean to the Atlantic Ocean That's one. You got to do that 80 times. So you got to go back and forth. If back and forth is one, you got to do that 40 times. And then you got to land it. And then you're going to bounce that information off some other satellite that's hanging out back there so you can fucking send the information back. Do you realize how fucking ridiculous this is? Do you realize that this has absolutely no bearing in reality? But this is the Psalms of a fucking priestcraft, a black wizard priestcraft that are doing fucking Babylonian sex magic rituals, launching obelisks at the feminine moon, taking their phallic dicks and jacking them off until they allegedly hit the feminine moon, and then fucking stepping on them and putting a footprint there. You know, this is China's fucking spacecraft, you know, like China's NASA. Let me just pull it up on my Instagram. You guys can follow me on Instagram. It's The Frank America. I got this right here. China's fucking NASA is taking in 10 billion US dollars annually. China's NASA is taking in $10 billion. NASA's taking down 58 million a day, which is what, 580 million in 100 days? So about, we'll say 1.8 billion a year. Probably more, 2.2 or something. NASA's taking down 10. And who's fucking, nobody's, in my opinion, more brainwashed than China. China is an atheistic communist country that has an iron grip over its citizens. They don't have fucking YouTube. They have their own internet. We can't even get on it unless you're like some dark web hacker, like you know some shit that I don't. But nobody even from here can even get on it. And it's so ridiculous. All of these people. I've been to China, man. I've been to Beijing. It's fucking dirty and polluted, and it's just like hundreds of mopeds. And they have these shitty old buildings. There's no fucking way these people are launching a fucking rocket from Earth, 237,000 miles, landing that bitch in 4 days, bouncing that information off another fucking satellite they sent up to be its like reflector, sending that information back down to China's internet, 237,000 miles, and then telling you dick about it in a Wall Street Journal article. All of it. Do you realize how fucking impossible that is? And if they had actually done it, it wouldn't be a 150 fucking word article tucked in the corner of the Wall Street Journal. This would be so fucking massive. There would be a fucking 10-page spread in every fucking rag in the world on this issue, if this is really happening. But all of these top-down, pyramidic, fucking doublespeak proliferators known as fucking indoctrination rags are tucking this in the corner of page 2. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with how news works, but these, you know, like your local tribunes and heralds and stuff, they're just, this news comes from a top-down cycle. It goes through, you know, Murdoch's company and a couple other ones, and then it gets sent down through the top, and then it disseminates to all these other places. And you can see where it comes from. Like you'll read a little article in your local paper, and at the bottom it'll have a dash and say like Associated Press or something. This is a top-down information dissemination structure. And I am admitting also that it has value. It tells you lots of things. It tells you what fucking houses defaulted on their mortgage. It tells you fucking what the weather might probabilistically be over the next week. It tells you if your local team won. It tells you what's going on in Congress. It tells you what Trump just said. But that's the other thing about these papers is they're so behind. Yesterday on Instagram, I'm watching a video of Trump saying, I may declare a national emergency. I would rather solve this democratically and work with the Dems on getting this border security, but I may do it. They told me I have the rights to do it, and I may do it. Now, this was construed by some people as a threat. Trump said, this isn't a threat. This is just a fact. I can declare a national emergency and appropriate funds that have been earmarked for, I think it was like security and infrastructure. It's just something that there's already that money there. It's not getting more money. And he can legally redirect it towards border security if there is a national emergency. He said, I don't want to do this, but I can. And then they're like saying he was threatening people. And it's like, no, bro, he's just telling you what he can do. And granted, Congress could push back, and it could be a gray legal zone, but that would be Congress's prerogative, right? It's their prerogative, just like it's the commander-in-chief's prerogative to discern the state of the nation and the security of the nation. And my point here is that I saw that on Instagram streaming yesterday because I follow real Donald J. Trump on Instagram. And then the next day, the Wall Street Journal is reporting it. So we're at this state with information where everything that's in the paper is essentially already been disseminated all over the internet. It's like it's all 24 hours late. Now, I still think it's really valuable, and this is a project that I'm considering moving into going forward, is collecting all of this data in print, because you can just update these websites. WSJ can just update the website on the founder of the Hubble Space Telescope and just take out the fact that her dad worked for USGS. Just be like, oh, there's not enough, and as if there's not enough space on a digital page, because obviously digital pages have no space limit. So why would you have less words in an article than what was printed in the actual physical paper, which does have space constraints? So these things can just be edited and amended. The internet is a morphology. These digital pages can be changed at will by anybody who has the keys to access those pages. So I do think there's something to be said for physical information, a physical dictionary, a physical Black's Law dictionary, a physical Webster's dictionary, and a physical etymology dictionary. So China didn't land on the dark side of the moon. And if you don't know that, then you are as stupid as all of the fucking atheistic communists in China that think they're living a better life because they can't fucking communicate with the rest of the world. And I don't think you're that stupid. I pray that you're not that stupid. So, this article gets no treatment. It's 150 words a copy. It's so ridiculous. And, God help us all. God help us all. So, what else should we talk about here? I kind of liked, I was thinking about this idea of read the paper with Frank. And, I was just going to kind of, let's see what else. In an article called NASA Administrator Jim Breedenstein on Life Off Earth, the former Oklahoma congressman wants to make space accessible to everyone and possibly discover life on other planets. By Henry Williams. Updated January 3rd, 2019, 10:54 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Big things are happening beyond Earth. China landed a probe on the dark side of the moon Thursday morning, Beijing time, becoming the first country to touch down on the far side of the lunar surface. In November, NASA's InSight lander signaled a safe landing on Mars. So retarded. Go to YouTube and type in P900 Mars. It looks like a pulsing, ethereal disco ball. It looks like a non-terra firma object. Nothing... NASA, by the way, is Hebrew for to deceive. And it was originally the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. But there is no, and that's what they do. They just jack off jets. It should be, they should really just call themselves like the Cum Factory or something, which is kind of gross, but that's what they're doing. The fucking Babylonian sex magic. In December, Trump directed the Pentagon to create a U.S. Space Command, calling for a sixth military branch he dubbed the Space Force. I want to touch on that for a second. I think that could be, basically, if I were Trump and I was a businessman running the country and I noticed that NASA was downsizing and the government was subsidizing a large portion of foreign aliens, fucking SpaceX, Elon Musk's SpaceX, and I would be like, fuck this, why are we giving him all the money? As long as this myth will continue to be perpetuated, we might as well funnel the money into an organization that I control. And granted, he could only be here for 6 more years, and then who would control it after that? But theoretically, it's better than fucking Elon Musk getting the money. So I think Space Force is designed to bitch slap SpaceX and also to replace NASA. Do I think fucking Trump believes the Earth is flat? I don't fucking know. I wouldn't put it past him. It's not something he would fucking talk about. It's the same with this QAnon shit. Like, either we're right and all the fucking creepos are getting fucking drained out of DC. All these fucking child traffickers and these fucking satanic scum fucking bags with their fucking abuse and their fucking drug running and their fucking just dirty, evil fucking people. Maybe they're all getting popped and arrested right now, and that's why there's fucking like 6,000 sealed indictments. Or we're being massively duped, and QAnon is radicalizing a portion of the far right to reverse the agenda and scoop them up as anti-UN supporters. You know, let's get rid of, nationalism is bad. But look what's going on over the world. I mean, okay, you got Brexit. Nationalism is coming back in a big fucking way. Brazil just hired a nationalist who basically, forgive me, it is like hired. That's a good word. But elected a new president who ran on a nationalist campaign of ideals similar to the ones Trump is espousing. And obviously you have Brexit separating itself from the EU. You have this notion that Europe should fucking defend itself and stop being fucking, have a military that's basically fucking subsidized by the US military. Trump's pulling out of Syria, although when he got some heat for that, he said he's slowing the exit. But we're bringing our boys home and taking care of our borders and strengthening this great country, right? And if we're not great, how the fuck are we going to help all these other countries? And why does dropping bombs on the northeast, on the Horn of Africa, in North Africa, how is that fucking good for us? I mean, isn't every child who watches his fucking parents die, or any parent who watches their children die, haven't you immediately just turned them into a lifetime of hatred for the people who dropped those bombs? Does that not further entrench the resolve of this quote-unquote radical Islam? You know, and that's why we use this word radical, because look what's going on in the U.S. We just got our first fucking Muslim congresswoman, forgive me. So this just yesterday, a whole new Senate and a whole new House of Representatives are in the U.S. The Senate is still, Mitch McConnell is still the majority leader. The Repubs still got the Senate, but now the Dems took back the House, which is fine. I'm not Republican or Democrat. I'm interested in what people do and if I think they're being real about it. So I'm just watching this like it's, you know, like I watched part of House of Cards, even though that show is dark and creepy as fuck. The first season was better than where it went from there. But in a House of Cards, right, when you're playing cards, in a House of Cards, what suit always wins? Did you get it? Trump. In a House of Cards, Trump wins. Now, I don't want to delve into the spell magic of reality, because at some point it just becomes, it's like being like, oh, there's 2-2 and then 11-11, meh. And next thing you know, you're fucking autistic, which is probably caused by vaccinations anyway. Unsolicited advice. I don't have any kids. I would never tell anyone what to do with their children. If I had kids, I would not vaccinate them. Like, it's funny, dude. My brother-in-law was like, we're like chilling. He lives out there in San Fran with my sister. And like, I was rolling around with them, hanging out one day, and we were talking about, they got kids. They're talking about vaccinating. And I was, you know, hey, what do you think? And I was like, well, one, I don't have kids. You got to do your own research. But what I told him is I would research the fuck out of it. You know, it seems fishy. At least all these like souped up 3-in-1 fucking super turbocharged fucking super soaker vaccinations. Yeah, let's just pump this small immune system, this tiny little body with like 5 of the worst fucking, let's give them polio, let's give them fucking the measles, the mumps, the flu, let's give them H1N1, let's just fucking fill this kid up with all these fucking diseases. That sounds like a really, like, all at once, when all these diseases evolved over centuries in different geographical locations, you know, with huge swaths of time between them. Now let's put them all in a big fucking triple-decker fucking sandwich, where the bologna's right on top of the fucking salami, and then you got the fucking turkey, and let's just put it all right there, and then let's just make these kids eat this shit. It seems retarded to me. The point I want to make is that my brother-in-law was like, well, yeah, you know, out there in Marin County, you know, you got these fucking anti-vaxxers, and they're getting all these kids sick at school. And I was like, wait, I thought that, and I was like, well, first of all, buddy, you know, I called him by his name. I would never call him buddy. He's a super cool, respectable man. But I was like, well, first of all, bro, I thought kids got vaccines so that they couldn't get sick if they were exposed to the disease, to the, you know, to whatever it is. The virus. Forgive me, I've been saying disease. It's a virus. Virus, disease, shit is similar. So anyway, I thought don't kids get vaccinated so they're not exposed to so if they are exposed to the virus, they've already built up antibodies that allow them to repel it and thus not get sick? He was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, so you got these anti-vaxxers out there in Marin County sending their kids to like fucking Waldorf schools or whatever without putting needles in their arms. And you're telling me that they're bringing in this virus around kids that have had needles stuck in their arms. And the kids that had needles stuck in the arms are the ones that are getting sick? And he's like, yeah. I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Aren't they the ones who got vaccinated? And he was literally driving the car at the moment, and he just goes, huh. And I was like, yeah, look into it, dog. Like, what the fuck is going on? I saw a great clip from Donald Trump saying that he said when he was young, nobody was autistic. Never even fucking heard of autism. Now all of a sudden, like, all these fucking kids are autistic. And he said that he thought it had something to do with vaccinations. And again, I'm not going to promise that I'm going to put a link to that, but I saw it, and I'm an honest man, and my yes is a yes, and my no is a no. And that's what Trump said. So, what the fuck are we doing to our kids? And how the fuck can we protect them from an insane biomedical / drug peddling pharmaceutical corporate conglomerate that wants to make the new triple-decker vaccine and then mandate your bitch ass to fucking put it in your kid's arm and kick the doctors down for delivering the doses. So you got these white coat drug dealers getting kickdowns from huge ass pharmaceutical companies just so they can patent the next triple-decker fucking virus vaccination, throw some shit in a lab, give it some new fucking name, and then put it in the arms of a bunch of 3 and 5-year-olds. Like, what the fuck is that? Now, you know, I was a kid, I got chicken pox, and then I didn't get them again. I didn't need a fucking vaccination. Now, I'm not saying in extreme cases that biomedical medicine is invaluable. You know, I believe also in struggling developing countries, there are basic medicinal supplies that can save lives. I'm not taking like some uber sandal hippie patchouli position on fucking doctors. Look, you get your fucking leg cut off in an axe mill, in a sawmill, take my ass to the hospital so they can fucking give me some morphine, put a tourniquet on my leg, and save my fucking life. All right? God bless trauma medicine. But obviously everyone knows this. Anyone who's fucking semi-diet woke on Instagram knows that our environs are creating disease because it's very valuable to sell people medications for dis-ease. So the only remedy that I can see for all of this is people need to, or one might benefit from, first setting a mindset within themselves that they can be and are healthy. Second, being aware of what's hitting their system. I would say not just the food or the beverage, but also the optics, what's going in through the eyes. And I would think that those 3 remedies, food, drink, and visual consumption, and auditory consumption. So food, drink, visual, and auditory consumption. If you just look at those 4 things and try to create healthy remedies, I think one can do great things in terms of a strong, healthy life. Oh, but they're dropping chemtrails on us, man. Fucking barium and uridium and look at the skies nowadays. Yeah, I agree. Look at any movie in the 90s that shows the skyline and it's fucking blue. It's fucking beautiful blue. Now everything is fucking dusted over. Don't disagree with that. But that doesn't mean that you're not fucking strong enough and resilient enough in your physical divine nature to withstand all that shit. Are you going to live in a mentality that's like, oh, they're spraying today, I can't go outside? Oh, it's like the same people at the airport with the fucking masks on. Like you always see that like 3 Japanese tourists like wearing masks, like walking around the airport like it's fucking like epidemic scene and like the CDC is on and everyone's walking around in fucking hazmat suits. Like, how do you think that way of thinking fucking changes your life? Yeah, and get clean water. And look at the fucking bottled water industry. It's one of the greatest fucking evils perpetuated upon the human race. Bottled water. It's all shit. It's crystalline structure is shit. And most of it has fucking poison in it. What you want to be doing is drinking out of an aquifer, a well tapped into an aquifer, or out of a river that's not polluted, or out of a wellspring from the earth, ideally. But even then, you'd want to test the water and see what its iron contents are and make sure it doesn't need to be diluted somewhat. But even beyond all that, at least when you're drinking something, tell yourself that it's good for you. Like, you can fucking auto-hoax a fucking cheeseburger if you tell your body that this is what I need right now. And maybe it is what we need right now. Who knows? Maybe it's all the fucking shit they're spraying that makes you need to go to fucking McDonald's and eat something just so you can get those fucking cow hormones, the sad cow hormones that they stuck in the fucking cattle industry, just so you can get just like, it's like a speedball, like your highs and your lows or some shit, like you're trying to get just right. I don't know what the recipe is. Be your own alchemist. All these fucking anemic vegans walking around looking like Skeletor telling me animal eating flesh is murder. I was like, yeah, all right, well, what's up, 20 pounds? I could blow you over with an exhalation. And granted, there are some vegans that are fucking world-class athletes and win fucking Olympic medals. But they know how to fucking eat and supplement. Can't, like David Wolf always says, you can't be a fucking Pepsi and Fritos vegan. And maybe you don't have recourse, economic or contextual, to the proper healthy foods. Maybe you do eat fast food once a week. Maybe you do need to shop at Cub or fucking Dollar Tree. Maybe you're making fucking beef stroganoff out of a box. And that's the best you can do. And that's okay. I would say love that shit, put a good intention on that shit, and eat that shit. Don't come from this fucking, oh, woe is me, I can't afford quinoa mentality. Half these cats eating quinoa are so fucking snobby that if it rained, they would drown. They're holier than thou. They think they're fucking superior to you. Dude, give me a fucking double cheeseburger and fucking eat a dick, bro. Don't tell me how to live my life. And I love you. And do what you want. It's a free country. And yeah, like when I'm hanging out with fucking girly and she's a vegetarian and she makes the dope ass fucking mix with the fucking rice and the fucking broccoli and everything's fucking caramelized onions and throws all that shit in a fucking pan and bam, puts that on the plate. Yeah, fucking one of the best meals I ever ate. Doesn't mean I know how to fucking cook that or take care of that every time. I'm trying to do the best I can with what I can do. I'm trying to make sure that what I take in, I enjoy. And one might be behooved to do the same. And I know we're coming up on our last 5 minutes here. So I'm just going to do a little recap. Is China didn't land on the dark side of the moon. That's hilarious. You don't need to fucking listen to Pink Floyd while watching The Wizard of Oz to know that they didn't land on the dark side of the moon. It's a fucking joke. They take down 10 billion US a year. Okay? The Chinese are being conned by a communist overlord. And NASA didn't land anything on Mars. It's not a terra firma object. And Elon Musk is not fucking going to Mars. And just go back and look at look up SpaceX, Elon Musk, HP, the words home planet, and Mars 2020. And then you'll also conveniently know that NVIDIA, which is the fucking company that everyone buys to run fucking cryptocurrency mines, also participated in that. And then like 3 or 4 VR and AR, virtual reality and augmented reality companies also participated in that. All right, so this is the fucking cyborg, fucking tech phallic, fucking Star Wars 3.0, fucking virtual reality, fucking circle jerk. And it's augmented reality, it's HP, it's NVIDIA, it's SpaceX. It's all these people that think we can go to Mars, that are indoctrinated by all these Hollywood movies, like Matt Damon's The Martian. I'm going to science the shit out of this. This is the fucking psyop on the technological level. Okay? None of this shit is happening. Sure, you can fucking put on goggles that simulate Mars. Yeah, but your feet are on the earth and you didn't fucking go anywhere, bro. So don't fucking believe Elon Musk, this ultimate hoaxer, who may or may not be controlled himself, when he says he's going to fucking take you there in a couple years. My fucking ass. And if they allegedly purport to land on Mars, you can bet your ass that it's not fucking veridical. So, I was reading the thing about how the partial solar eclipse on January 5th, which is today, 2019, aligned with the star Vega, and it would bring out your poetic sensibilities. But the underhanded side was that it might also ramp up your eccentricities, your eccentricities. So I was just reflecting that perhaps this podcast has captured some of the ramped up eccentricities of myself. And perhaps in other podcasts that might not be so apparent. Maybe leave a comment. Let me know if you think I should continue to lean into those. I've also been listening to some Owen Benjamin, and I like him. And that makes me want to say a lot of things that I typically might not say. And so I'm kind of slowly incorporating some of his influence. I put a couple of lines out there today that I could feel his influence moving through. But I am tempering that because I don't want to just all of a sudden say a bunch of fucking politically incorrect shit to create incendiary results. And I'm trying to have the fucking helm, like eye on the prize, hand on the rudder, shooting towards my authentic real. And so what else did we talk about? Can't turn the Hubble Space Telescope around to show me an upside down fucking Freightliner stuck to the bottom of the ocean. Talked about vaccines, Trump's position on vaccinations, the triple-decker burger deluxe. We talked about this notion of cognitive dissonance flowing through people that are opposed to anti-vaxxers, that exemplified in God Bless Him and My Brother-in-Law. And I think he was awake and aware and intelligent enough to see that that was illogical, what he was postulating, and consider alternate theories because of that. And what else? Taking care of my dog at my cousin's house. And he's just chilling. It's a pit bull named Murphy. Murph, how you doing? A little tail wagging. I might go out later. I might finish the book. West of the Edge. I made it like 11-point font on 4x7 pages. It came out at like 130-ish pages. So that's my vibe is it's just, here's a nice little book that fits in your hand and you can just carry it to the coffee shop. Like, I'm going to print out some promo copies and then read them and make sure everything is cool. And then I'll set them up on, just go ahead and click the link below type shit and it'll print it for you and mail it to you. And my boy well, I say my boy, I would say like within the digital culture, my homie, Matty Moses, just big upped my stage set track with Solomon on Instagram. I will leave a link below to Stage Set. It's a popular song. I might even use it again as the outro music here. And, you know, God bless you all. Stay free, stay frank. Know who you are, what you are, where you are. Believe in yourself. Whatever you imbibe, give yourself the vibe that it's okay and good for you. Don't lie to yourself, but also don't hurt yourself by feeling shameful with what you do. Be positive, be courageous, be righteous. One might like themselves more for feeling and doing those things. You're listening to the Frank America Podcast, Episode 3. Peace.
Chillin' on the holy plane, puffin' on the Mary Jane. Son of man, if asked my name, wondering if you're the same. Thunder in the falling rain, under skin like Kurt Cobain. Can't complain, he on a plane, my stands the same on this terrain. Bless Aurora Borealis, yes, the stars are on Polaris. The Coriolis is a fallacy, the stationary palace. I'm in the Taj Mahal with the Rebellies Mahal, and the devil's looking small. There's no curvature at all when they preach about the ball. Get you thinking that you crawl, insignificant and small, when in fact you walking tall. Bless Aurora Borealis, yes, the stars are on Polaris. The Coriolis is a fallacy, the stationary palace. I got a question for the scientists. Why the rising with level with my eye and shit? 20 miles high with it. Is NASA fucking lying? It's ISS surviving it. Temps that melt aluminum, live streaming on their wireless.